Science is the process of thinking God's thoughts after him. I much prefer the sharpest criticism of a single intelligent man to the thoughtless approval of the masses. The chief aim of all investigations of the external world should be to discover the rational order and harmony which has been imposed on it by God, and which he revealed to us in the language of mathematics. I had the intention of becoming a theologian, but now I see how God is, by my endeavors, also glorified in astronomy. For the heavens declare the glory of God. My greatest desire is that I may perceive the God whom I find everywhere in the external world, in like manner also within and inside myself. Since we astronomers are priests of the highest God in regard to the book of nature, it befits us to be thoughtful, not of the glory of our minds, but rather, above all else, of the glory of God. Once miracles are admitted, every scientific explanation is out of the question. When ships to sail the void between the stars have been built, there will step forth men to sail these ships. Truth is the daughter of time, and I feel no shame in being her midwife. O telescope, instrument of much knowledge, more precious than any scepter. Wherever there are qualities, there are likewise quantities, but not always vice versa. The diversity of the phenomena of nature is so great, and the treasures hidden in the heavens so rich, precisely in order that the human mind shall never be lacking in fresh nourishment. The roads by which men arrive at their insights into celestial matters seem to me almost as worthy of wonder as those matters in themselves. Just as the eye was made to see colors, and the ear to hear sounds, so the human mind was made to understand, not whatever you please, but quantity. The heavenly motions are nothing but a continuous song for several voices, perceived not by the ear, but by the intellect. A figured music which sets landmarks in the immeasurable flow of time. If the earth should cease to attract its waters to itself, all the waters of the sea would be raised, and would flow to the body of the moon. The earth is round, and is inhabited on all sides, is insignificantly small, and is born through the stars. I am a Lutheran astrologer. I throw away the nonsense and keep the hard kernel. Geometry existed before the creation. It is co-eternal with the mind of God. Geometry provided God with a model for the creation. Astronomy would not provide me with bread if men did not entertain hopes of reading the future in the heavens. We do not ask for what useful purpose the birds do sing, for song is their pleasure since they were created for singing. Similarly, we ought not to ask why the human mind troubles to fathom the secrets of the heavens. I believe only and alone in the service of Jesus Christ. In him is all refuge and solace. If God himself has waited 6,000 years for someone to contemplate his works, my book can wait for 100. The Creator, the fountain of all wisdom, the approver of perpetual order, the eternal and superessential spring of geometry and harmonics. Geometry has two great treasures. One is the theorem of Pythagoras, the other, the division of a line into extreme and mean ratio. The first we may compare to a measure of gold. The second we may name a precious jewel. When things are in order, if the cause of the orderliness cannot be deduced from the motion of the elements or from the composition of matter, it is quite possibly a cause possessing a mind. As soon as somebody demonstrates the art of flying, settlers from our species of man will not be lacking on the moon and Jupiter. Even ships or sails adapted to the breezes of heaven, there will be those who will not shrink from even that vast expanse. Ships and sails proper for the heavenly air should be fashioned. Then there will also be people who do not shrink from the dreary vastness of space. God gives every animal the means of saving its life. Why object if he gives astrology to the astronomer? Since geometry is co-eternal with the divine mind before the birth of things, God himself served as his own model in creating the world, for what is there in God which is not God? And he with his own image reached down to humanity. Thus God himself was too kind to remain idle and began to play the game of signatures, signing his likeness unto the world. Therefore I chanced to think that all nature and the graceful sky are symbolized in the art of geometria. We find therefore, under this orderly arrangement, a wonderful symmetry in the universe, and the definite relation of harmony in the motion and magnitude of the orbs, of a kind that is not possible to obtain in any other way. My aim is to say that the machinery of the heavens is not like a divine animal, but like a clock, and anyone who believes a clock has a soul gives the work the honor due to its maker, and that in it almost all the variety of motions is from one very simple magnetic force acting on bodies. As in the clock, all motions are from a very simple weight. The soul of the newly born baby is marked for life by the pattern of the stars at the moment it comes into the world. Unconsciously remembers it, and remains sensitive to the return of configurations of a similar kind. If there is anything that can bind the heavenly mind of man to this dreary exile of our earthly home, and can reconcile us with our fate so that one can enjoy living, then it is verily the enjoyment of the mathematical sciences and astronomy. I measured the skies, now the shadows I measure. Sky-bound was the mind, earth-bound the body rests. Kepler's epitaph. It may be well to wait a century for a reader, as God has waited 6,000 years for an observer. I believe the geometric proportion served the Creator as an idea when he introduced the continuous generation of similar objects from similar objects. Every corporeal substance, so far forth as it is corporeal, has a natural fitness for resting in every place where it may be situated by itself beyond the sphere of influence of a body cognate with it. If the moon and earth were not retained in their orbits by their animal force or some other equivalent, the earth would mount to the moon by a 54th part of their distance, and the moon fall towards the earth through the other 53 parts, and they would there meet, assuming, however, that the substance of both is of the same density. The squares of the periodic times are proportional to the cubes of the mean distances from the sun. Geometry is one and eternal shining in the mind of God. That share in it accorded to men is one of the reasons that man is the image of God. So long as the mother, ignorance, lives, it is not safe for science, the offspring, to divulge the hidden causes of things. I used to measure the heavens. Now I measure the shadows of earth. The mind belonged to heaven. The body's shadow lies here. Gravity is a mutual affection between cognate bodies toward union or conjunction similar in kind to the magnetic virtue, so that the earth attracts a stone much rather than the stone seeks the earth. Some of what these pamphlets of astrological forecasts say will turn out to be true, but most of it time and experience will expose as empty and worthless. The latter part will be forgotten literally, written on the winds, while the former will be carefully entered in people's memories, as is usual with the crowd. Quantity is the fundamental feature of things, the primarium accidens substantiae, prior to the other categories. The moon is a mass akin to the mass of the earth, attracts the waters by magnetic force, not because they are liquid, but because they possess earthy substance, and so share in the movements of a heavy body. Yet in this my stars were not Mercury as morning star in the angle of the seventh house, in quartile with Mars, but they were Copernicus. They were Tycho Brahe, without whose books of observations everything which has now been brought by me into the brightest daylight would lie buried in darkness. Discover the force of the skies, O men. Once recognized, it can be put to use. Now as God the Maker played, he taught the game to nature, whom he created in his image, taught her the selfsame game which he played to her. If the earth were not round, heavy bodies would not tend from every side in a straight line towards the center of the earth, but to different points from different sides. I also ask you, my friends, not to condemn me entirely to the mill of mathematical calculations, and allow me time for philosophical speculations, my only pleasures. The sphere of the attractive virtue which is in the moon extends as far as the earth, and entices up the waters, but as the moon flies rapidly across the zenith, and the waters cannot follow so quickly, a flow of the ocean is occasioned in the torrid zone towards the westward. The sun alone appears, by virtue of his dignity and power, suited for this motive duty of moving the planets and worthy to become the home of God himself. If two stones were placed near each other, and beyond the sphere of influence of a third cognate body, these stones, like two magnetic needles, would come together in the intermediate point, each approaching the other by a space proportional to the comparative mass of the other. Wheresoever the earth may be placed, or whithersoever it may be carried by its animal faculty, heavy bodies will always be carried towards it. So Fabricius, I already have this, that the most true path of the planet Mars is an ellipse, which Durr also calls an oval, or certainly so close to an ellipse that the difference is insensible. A mind is accustomed to mathematical deduction, when confronted with the faulty foundations of astrology, resists a long, long time, like an obstinate mule, until compelled by beating and curses to put its foot into that dirty po. A most unfailing experience of the excitement of sublinear, that is, human natures by the conjunctions and aspects of the planets, has instructed and compelled my unwilling belief. Repudiating the sensible world, which he neither sees himself nor believes from those who have, the peripatetic joins combat by childish quibbling in a world on paper, and denies the sun shines because he himself is blind. Biography of Johannes Kepler. Johannes Kepler was a German astronomer, mathematician, astrologer, natural philosopher and writer on music. He is a key figure in the 17th century scientific revolution, best known for his laws of planetary motion, and his books Astronomia Nova, Harmonious Mundi, and Epitome Astronomiae Copernicani. Born December 27, 1571, Wilderstadt, Germany. Died November 15, 1630, Regensburg, Germany. Children Ludwig Kepler, Sibyld Kepler Moore. Education: Eberhard Karls University of Tübingen 1589–1591. Evangelisches Seminar Maulbronn, Tübinger Stift. Spouse: Susanna Rudinger M. 1613–1630, Barbara Müller M. 1597–1611. Siblings: Heinrich Kepler, Margaretha Kepler, Christoph Kepler. Occupation: mathematician.